wants that movie. Sit ahead. Don't ask Alenka, she'll say, I haven't seen it.
Welcome to the Haven't Seen It podcast. This is a podcast where we bring people on the show and we get them really drunk and they tell me about a movie that I've never seen before. I'm Alenka Zach.
And I'm Will.
Oh, baby. Guys, oh, wow. Ooh, Akota. Ooh. Oh, boy. You know what? We can't wait because I can feel the guests are just itching to introduce themselves. Guys, we have a spicy, giggly bunch on the show today. We got not one, but two guests, and they're blood related. When does that ever happen? Today it happens. Today we have Hailey and TJ Rector on the show. Thank you for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
I know it is. I know.
Perfect time to take a drink, Alenka.
I know. Ugh. We'll get into that later. Really quick, you guys. I'm so excited to have TJ and Hailey on because are they funny people like outside of real life? Yeah, because their lives is hilarity. What do? They live life to the funniest. That's my opinion on that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's what we try to do.
That's my motto.
Yeah, I know.
As you can see, the material's just flowing.
What movie are they talking about?
Well, they were going to talk about a different movie, but these guys know so many movies that they decided to talk about A Beautiful Mind.
Yes.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, and
starring
I
Russel
don't
Crowe.
know. Oh, another Russel Crowe movie?
Did you know, side note, that Russell Crowe was originally supposed to play Morpheus in The Matrix?
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
What? I didn't know that fun fact.
Right? Yeah.
Ooh.
How do you know
Russell Crowe
this?
fact for you. Big Matrix fan, and just over the years watching some Matrix interviews, and he was originally, the one they wanted to play Morpheus. Yeah.
Fun fact.
That would have been really weird.
Agreed.
I also have a fun fact, which is that up until watching this movie, I thought Russell Crowe was a famous country singer. So
He's not.
It does have a country twang to it.
Yeah.
I learn something new every day.
We definitely do know that he's not the greatest singer ever, thanks to Les Mis.
Now,
Honestly,
this
he was
Russell
pretty good in
Crowe.
that.
I honestly can say that I haven't seen it, so I don't know. And I actually can't think of what Russell Crowe looks like either, but that's fine. It's not important. I thought this movie.
Well, apparently, he looks like John Forbes Nash Jr. So,
That's
who is
good.
that?
He also has a. He's really great at aging in movies. They can make him look 50 years older so effortlessly. Like, yeah.
Is that really a pro for him, though? Do you think that's something he has on his resume? That's like,
I think
ages
it is
well
for
with
movies.
makeup.
Absolutely.
That's the trait he has on his resume.
They could have used one actor for Benjamin Button if they had cast him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, perhaps. Again, a movie I haven't seen. You guys need to stop making reference to those things that I don't watch. But I am a little curious why the heck you guys want to talk about this movie.
So we went through a pretty rigorous selection process to decide what we were going to watch. We originally were going to talk about Interstellar, as you might remember. And I think we just realized it's a really long movie that's really, without giving anything away, it's...
TJ has a lot of passion for it that might not be like the most lighthearted.
Yeah. So we thought,
that's the perfect kind of content, We want to get serious and, hard opinions, arguments.
I argue with a lot of people. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we can confirm. multitaskers right here.
Oh boy.
So why do we want to talk about A Beautiful Mind?
Mm-hmm.
So we went through the list, all the, millions of movies you've never seen, and we're wondering which ones have we seen. And Beautiful Mind was on the short list of a dozen or so, just because I don't even know why.
We were just talking about, we were like, what are the best ones? And then we made a list. I don't even know what the basis was for the list.
Some of the movies were ones that we thought were supposed to be serious, but were maybe poorly done, so could make for some funnies. This one, I think we just thought was a good mix of plot intrigue and...
Yeah, TJ... No, I can't spoil it. Never mind.
So do you guys have an emotional attachment to this movie at all? Or are you guys just big old movie buffs?
I've always identified as someone with a beautiful mind myself. So I think naturally I just gravitate towards it.
I never watched this movie until TJ, the night he came over to watch the movie, he's like, we should watch A Beautiful Mind. But I wasn't committed. And I was like, let's put it in a randomizer. A Beautiful Mind was selected. So it was meant to be. So I have no attachment aside from last Friday when I watched it.
Ooh.
Glad.
Going in a little blind, I guess. Going in a little cold.
Yeah, but now I feel like I really understand it. I've read about it since then. I know what I'm talking about.
Hailey is a scholar and she studies everything intensely.
I do.
I think I also remember the first time seeing the movie when it came out. I think there were some things in the film, without giving anything away, that were, I don't know if I should say groundbreaking for the time, but things that devices in the movie that I'd never really seen before. And I remember noticing that about the movie. It stuck with me for that reason. It was also one of those movies that, while being serious and I thought well done, had a good amount of humor in it, some intended and some unintentional, I think. So I always kind of like those types of movies.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, it's a very classic Ron Howard type film.
I have no idea.
Came out in 2001.
Wow, what a year.
2001.
Great year. I was 5.
Yeah,
I was
year.
4.
I don't know. I don't remember. Definitely not 4. It was much. Was I? No, I wasn't.
It's pretty easy math. You could probably crunch the numbers if you want.
I'm so busy thinking about other things, though. I can't math right now. I have a lot of things to do. Math's not one of them.
Your year that you were born.
Yeah, could somebody else crunch these numbers? 93. Go now. Quick math.
20s. So you were 8.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to shrug at it like I'm
easy.
a ding dong.
He does.
You guys
that a
are
lot.
rude.
It's one
Whatever.
of the reasons that I have low self-esteem.
You might not have a beautiful mind, but
Oh no. But there's a but. Sounds like there's a but there.
there was no but there.
Okay, that's fine.
It did sound like a butt was
fine.
coming.
I know. I was really looking forward to finding out whatever the but was, but I guess that's fine. Will, what's the drink you have today?
She's broken.
Well, the drink is called Governing Dynamics.
What does that mean? Is this a math
and
movie?
You'll find out what that means.
Okay.
Well, you kind of got one thing.
What? It's a movie or that it's a math?
It's basically just it's a math movie.
Is it actually?
It is, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't believe that Alenka hasn't seen these movies. She makes too many educated guesses. She's just trying to show off.
I think I keep messing this movie up with Good Will Hunt. Sorry, Will, finish explaining your drink and then we'll get into it.
Well, it's called Governing Dynamics, and it is basically just a vodka cranberry.
Basic.
Maybe make sure you get some Russian vodka in there. And then you want to accompany that with 3 empty shot glasses that you're never going to use.
I'm so confused, intrigued, feeling a little sad also. The emptiness of the shot glasses. Have I guessed all the correct emotions of the roller coaster of this movie? I think I have.
There's some intriguing and sad parts.
Oh, good.
Emptiness is a bit of a theme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. I can figure this out. Okay.
Oh
firstly,
yeah, she can synopsize.
I keep
it for us
forgetting.
easily.
Yeah, I'm really good at it. I keep mistaking this movie as the Good Will Hunting movie, and that's the one with the janitor that maths, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he maths hard. Yeah.
So
Very
he
well
maths.
throughout the film.
I do know what Russel Crowe looks like. He has short
Alenka
hair in this movie. And probably a quizzical look. And I think
you're frozen.
is this one about
Yeah, she is.
they're completely frozen to me right now, but
Ugh,
you're not, Will, so I'm gonna keep going.
she's always having internet issues.
She should be at
She's
that.
Can you
the
hear
only
me at
one.
all, Will? Oh no.
We can share internet.
Yeah,
She can go in my bed.
Oh,
No.
she's back.
I can't hear
There
them.
she is.
Yeah, you disconnected.
Oh boy, I need to relaunch the Zencaster because you are very deep voice, and I don't think I can hear Hailey and TJ.
Could you now?
Oh yeah, I can.
We just weren't talking.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, and you're back to normal. Wow, cool. It just looks like
All
you're always
right.
talking. Sorry. Anyways, I feel like this is a movie about somebody with I might be wrong, but I think is this somebody with like that's someone on the autism spectrum?
What makes
Am
you
I
say
wrong?
that?
Just because I think I've heard about this movie before, maybe slightly. Or are you pointing at TJ as if he is also?
No, just that he straightens up as if he's ready to interrogate you.
Yeah. No,
I was excited by that deduction.
I think, and this is purely just based off my experience with someone who, and I'm not sure if this was, I don't remember exactly what it is that they like had or whatever, but it may have been Asperger's. But they were in my acting program, and they said that they had a super hard time in the program because they literally couldn't recognize certain emotions and they didn't know how to like play them, basically. So my guess is that this person is super smart, maths hard, but then maybe can't emotionally connect with people. And these are his struggles. These are their stories. I mean, that's what I meant to say.
And these are their stories. That's like the Law and Order fucking
Right?
Yeah.
That's the intro.
hit.
So I have, like pretty much no knowledge of this movie other than I feel like I do know what Russel Crowe looks like in it. And I say maybe he's outside at one point, given a look.
Wow. That is a...
That eliminated one movie from the catalog of movies.
So I think I know this movie pretty well.
Yes, I believe he does get a little bit of sun,
happen.
you know?
Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying,
Yeah.
I think there's big potential for a like Law and Order spin-off series about like
Yeah.
For this movie?
Asperger's sufferers who math hard, and these are their stories.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
it would,
a niche
it would be
episode.
like The Good Doctor or something like that, but with Law and Order.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another show I'm unfamiliar with.
Oh.
I've actually never seen Law and Order either. I'm just pretty sure that on Family Guy they once referenced.
Well, get ready for our spin-off podcast, Law and Order Rewatch, for the first time with Alenka.
I could do it.
Well, thank you for that riveting summary of A Beautiful Mind
welcome.
as told by Alenka. But
I
I
can't
think
wait.
we better get ready to get into the actual Beautiful Mind, the real, true story, sort of.
Yeah.
Hailey and TJ, how does this movie start?
Starts off in what would you describe it as? Like a hearing, meeting. There's
Like an opening lecture.
sure opening lecture. You're in a university setting. It's 1947.
Knew it.
And there's a group of really bright students. They're young, first year students, although because of the actors that play them, they all look like they're in their mid to late 20s at the youngest.
I would say early 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not believe Russel Crowe is like 18, 19 in this.
Yeah, I thought you guys mentioned earlier that makeup works for him a lot, and it doesn't sound like this worked so hot in this movie.
To age him.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he
not
pulls
to
off
make
a
him
believable
younger.
28-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
First
think
year.
Russell Crowe's always been like 18 going on 80. So
Yeah.
I agree.
So starts, let's call it a lecture. They're in the lecture hall, what have you, Princeton University, and they're discussing a prestigious scholarship or entrance award that for the first time has been split. It's always been awarded to one individual, but this particular year it's split, and there are co-winners. One, Russell Crowe's character, John Nash, and another guy whose name is escaping me.
Martin Hanson,
Martin
go.
Hanson.
Martin
played by Josh
Handsome.
Lucas, who we haven't seen in a while.
Don't know I've ever seen him. I haven't seen a ton of movies though.
Oh,
So yeah, true. So it's the award split, and then they get right into. So there's a little bit of a rivalry from the beginning. Martin Hanson, John Nash, the award split, and there's this dynamic of who is going to
Ooh, they're
emerge as
sour.
the preeminent,
Yeah.
Yeah.
student.
Who's
from
going to be the
this year.
smartest smart boy?
oh. So they're both
Exactly.
smart boys.
Real smart boys.
Yes.
Smart boys.
And as you've pointed out, Alenka, the scene is set. Everybody's kind of in the fray, but then at the very back of the room sits John Nash, Russell Crowe, alone. And you can see he's brooding is a good word.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
Focused, I would say.
Furrowed brow, looking to and fro.
Can you please explain emotions to us, please?
I'm unfamiliar.
So, Russell, it's clear that I think he makes a comment, does he not?
Yeah.
What does he say?
I don't remember. Something
Oh,
insulting.
I think so. They're all outside, kind of like it's kind of a meet and greet with all the new students in Princeton in the math faculty. And this is where we see John's beautiful mind, because he's like looking at things on a table and then like seeing the image in his mind and moving it around and creating like shapes. And he like looks at this one dude's tie and he creates shapes out of other things in the scene. And then it's like it overlays on top of his tie, prompting him to say, there must be a mathematical equation for how bad your tie is. That's what he says.
What?
To this
Yes.
guy.
Right.
He tries
Yeah.
to be
How?
really sarcastic and funny, but it just comes across as super blunt and uncomfortable, much like you might imagine someone who might struggle with the autism spectrum or Asperger's.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I don't think John Nash ever had or was ever like diagnosed with that, but Russell Crowe definitely plays him that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like he's on the spectrum somehow.
Mhm.
Okay.
And for this scene, Alenka, they are outside, so you're already on the right track as
Knew
far
it.
as your
That's right. Now I'm
Yes.
wondering about
Okay,
sequence
but
of
do
scenes
people
here.
actually see shapes like that?
Yeah. So he's looking at the tie, and the tie is this kaleidoscopic pattern of lines and triangles. And then he sees rays of sunlight, and he sees the way it's refracting off of different surfaces and creating shapes. And then those shapes line up with the guy's tie. And he has this
That's obscene.
beautiful mind sequence and makes the comment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awkward.
Just somebody say it's beautifully
Well, his
awkward.
friend laughs, and then they shake hands, and
That's
they all
right.
meet our main kind of friends, which is Ainsley Bender, played by Anthony Rapp, and Soul, who's played by Adam Goldberg. And then Martin Hansen is the other prestigious award winner student, but they're kind of the group of friends, not friends, rivals. Like they eventually get to be friends, but at the top, they're all like, this John guy is weird as fuck.
Okay. Okay. Great.
So John I think he gets settled into his room before any games take place on the grounds. So John goes up to his dorm room, and he's immediately, trying to get it in order. He drags a desk across the floor, parks this big desk right in front of a window, and pulls out, gets his desk all ready. I don't think he writes anything on the windows yet. He might. He pulls out
he's one of those guys.
Crayon or some kind of
all smart
wax.
People write on
Windows. Yeah, that is the thing, isn't it? That's
why
Mark Zuckerberg did it.
Yeah.
John Nash Jr. does it.
That's why I do it in the hopes that I will become a genius. I think if you do it enough, you transcend.
Practice makes perfect.
You get it.
Basic sentences, and it'll turn into advanced mathematics over time.
Exactly. Just touching into the blood relative part of this podcast, I actually spent one time when I was around 10, I drew with chalk all over TJ's entire car on all of the windows because I told, and Justine was part of that, Alenka, your cousin.
That's my cousin there you go.
And I told her it's fine, TJ won't mind because the water will wash it off. And that's why I got good grades in school.
I did mine.
I did mine, but I did mine.
My car covered in
chalk.
What I didn't know was chalk at first. But so he's
TJ won't care, Justine. It's just chalk. You were such a brat.
That was the formula.
I'm sure
for time
there was
travel,
a
right?
pavement
That's
potentially.
Right. And he just erased it. Oh,
wow. Thanks a lot, TJ.
Years of work. Okay.
Years.
Never getting it back.
Yeah. So Russell, sorry, I keep calling him Russell. John is setting up his room, and in walks his roommate, some British bloke in a tuxedo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Charles Herman.
Classic name.
Charles Herman.
Comes in the typical, British bloke.
Yeah. Ready to party. He's talking about hangovers and how they feel like exactly when you're going to die. And if you're apparently, because it's just dehydration, if you're dying of thirst, it's going to feel like the worst hangover of your life. And you're like, okay, this guy is just the typical guy. He's like college. He's ready to party. Not a great pair up there with John.
Right.
So this is not a friend of John. This is just his roommate.
Yeah, roommate to start. Seems like maybe not a match made in heaven.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he's got a certain charm.
Well, he's British.
They all are charming.
So now we see, there's the introductions, whatever. They get to know each other a little bit. You get to see that it could be challenging between them. John wants to become the preeminent genius of his generation. This guy wants to party. John, now a little while later, there's another scene out on campus outside again. And John is there's a lot of things kind of happen in the next scene, I think. John's observing pigeons. Pigeons are walking around the ground, and John's kind of walking forwards and back, stumbling around, muttering to himself, like might be taking notes in the air. It's clear he's like making calculations, and people, including Martin Hansen, his rival, kind of notice this and are making fun of him, wondering what are you doing? Oh, hey, John, haha. They're ribbing him a bit.
Yeah. We also find out through dialogue that he doesn't really attend classes either. He's not going to his classes.
Whoa,
He's just out
why is he
observing
there?
And basically he thinks classes are useless because all of his classmates are published by then, and he needs to come up with his big original idea. So he doesn't go to school. He just writes and studies.
Wait a second. So his classmates are all published?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know when that happened either. They were just all super...
He kind of mentions it. He's like, half of them are already published. I've got to get my original idea going. And
so he's just... Does he feel like inferior then?
No, it seems like he feels superior because he says that all classes are just, you're being handed the same old information. There's no original ideas.
It's going to inhibit your creativity.
He's too good for class. That's why everyone goes to university.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So he's there. We're not sure. At this point, we're both asking ourselves the question, why is he there then?
Yeah.
Does he think he's going to absorb some kind of knowledge from the campus itself, or the pigeons there have a special thing to impart on him? You don't know really, but he's there. It's clear he wants to be there, but he is now observing.
But he thinks it's stupid.
But he doesn't think it's stupid to observe the pigeons on campus. They're going like walking, and he's like doing stuff, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm plotting their movements and trying to." This isn't a quote, but he's trying to make an algorithm to predict and map out the movement of pigeons in a group. So, okay.
That is just sick.
Yeah.
That is.
Yes, exactly. Meanwhile, Martin and his buddies, they're playing, is it backgammon, right? That's backgammon?
I think that's Othello. At least
What's
I've always known it as
backgammon?
Othello.
Oh, Othello. Okay.
What that?
I don't know
other than
either
Shakespeare.
game, so
It's like a big grid, and you've got black and white pieces, and you put them down on the grid, and when you
Checkers.
form it's like a super duper deeper strategic version of something unlike
Checkers.
This is smart. This is smart math person.
Smart checkers.
So
I could play.
Also, child checkers. Yeah, it's super easy. It's not so smart, but you can make it smart.
Yeah.
But I think
be a
the fact
master.
that the name is something not like checkers, it makes it sound like it's smarter than it is, you know?
That's why they're playing.
Because you say backgammon or backgammon or whatever the crap it's called, and it's like, whoa, wonder what that is. You say checkers, and it's like, are we going to a diner?
Fair observation.
You know? Thank you. I have a beautiful mind in other ways. So fuck you, Will.
well, no one's beaten Martin. No one's beaten him.
Okay.
Right.
And so
Until-
Martin challenges John to a game, and he's like, "What, are you afraid?" And John has like the famous line that he ends up saying
He says,
later.
no,
but he's
I
like,
have a beautiful mind.
he's like stupefied, petrified. What does it say? No, he's like terrified, stupefied, petrified by you. I don't know. He says something like that.
Exactly like
Excuse
He even got his
me?
accent going.
He says
Yeah,
that?
he's got like a southern accent.
He just says that out of the blue? Because that literally sounds like... It
What?
sounds like it kind of sounds like it's a part of a song,
Could be.
but I don't know,
There's
like a
there's
love
probably a
song or
remix on
something.
there,
Could
you know?
it be from Greece?
Wow.
You
I don't think it's from Greece.
It doesn't have that vibe to you guys. You do. Good.
I actually feel
Oh,
the
you're
vibe.
talking about Danny. Yeah, Danny at the end of Greece.
Yeah.
He's like-
Yeah.
Mhm.
What does he say though? Seems the same.
It's like, I'm terrified, I'm stupefied, I'm petrified by you. And then after everybody's gathered around, there's this Othello game, backgammon game, whatever it is going on.
Right.
And Hanson's crushing everybody. Hanson's goading John, saying, you don't want to step up and actually, participate in any kind of challenge that you could lose. You're afraid. And John eventually consents. He sits down to play, utterly convinced he's going to smoke Hanson. Hanson's utterly convinced he's going to smoke John. Even though John, comes off as, from what we're quoting, as awkward and, a little bit socially inept, he also has a sort of badass quality that he really just says what he thinks and like really catches people off guard and carries himself that way.
Yes.
So they're playing Othello and it's like, you know, close game back and forth, super intense. And
Checkmate.
John, I at least was thinking John's got to win this.
Right. Yes.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going on. And then Hansen delivers an unexpected death blow.
Right. And it sends John spiraling as soon as that happens. He's like, no, like I went first. This game is flawed. I played it perfectly. There's something wrong with the game. And he like
really
off.
He tries to get up and
No
he accidentally
way.
like hits the table. The pieces go flying.
There's
He staggers
the
on the
again.
ground.
Yeah.
Oh
Everyone's
no.
kinda like
I feel so
Awkward and
bad.
cringing. And he scurries away.
Poor little baby boy.
Oh yucky. Oh, I'm so sad.
That's right.
Ooh,
That's
boy. I don't like him because he was so cocky, but I still feel bad because he fumbled at the end, you know?
That's right.
That's very empathetic of you.
Yeah.
So I think he
Thank
retreats
you.
to
How's
his
that
dorm
cat?
room.
Mm.
Yeah.
Not doing
I think
good.
he ends up, he gets angry and he's like pushing his desk around, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got stuff on the window. Now the windows are
But
really
he just
full of
placed
writing.
it so perfectly, and now he's just like, hate
Well, this
this
is months
desk.
later now.
Yeah.
A lot
Oh,
of time's passing.
I see.
His roommate comes in. You come to learn at some point that like one window pane represents his pigeon algorithm, another window pane represents some other original idea
Right.
he's working on.
And we should have mentioned earlier that right at the beginning, I think him and his roommate ended up hitting it off. Like, even though he was kind of put off by him, they go to the roof or something and have like his roommate Charles brings a flask and they share that. And I think they share a couple cigarettes or something and just sort of chill and end up appreciating each other like a nice yin and yang thing.
Yeah. They become
That's
the two best
lovely.
friends that
Yeah.
anyone ever had, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
And it
say
seems
that.
also like every time John gets into any kind of mental trouble or he's down about something, Charles is always there to tempt him into just getting hammered. He's like, hey, come on, let's
Oh,
forget this was some
boy.
drink. Let's go get some pizza and beers. And John always resists. And then he's like, oh, okay, let's do it. And they go and get
Aw.
up to shenanigans
This
together.
is kind of nice-ish, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I always
Supporting
liked
some
Charles.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like a few things happen, but basically this combined with his professor like warning him that he's not gonna, get placement, which I believe is like a job or an internship or some sort of thing,
Yeah.
because he hasn't been going to class or he hasn't written his his thesis papers and stuff.
Mhm.
This all combines to make him really upset, and he starts like pushing his desk out.
Yes.
And then Charles shows up and they're like struggling with the desk, and he like helps him calm down, and then they end up tossing the desk right out the window.
Right.
Knew it! Knew it!
It's actually Charles that does it solely in the flick. He's like there, and then
Oh,
They
he's
do
like,
it
yeah.
on
"Oh,
purpose
forget
or
it."
by
He
accident?
did it on purpose because he was trying to be like, oh, screw this. So he pushes it out of the window. It falls.
How is
He
this
has
guy in Princeton?
intelligence?
He's, probably
Intelligent.
family and money.
Yeah.
Charles,
Yikes.
not
Yeah,
John's there because of he's smart.
because
boy.
of smarts. But Charles is there because he's British, and he was just like, "May I come to the school?" They're like,
You're like,
"Okay."
oh, say that again.
Oh. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even more Britisher.
Well, yeah, because I did not do a good accent at all.
No, you sounded just like
It's-
Charles.
Knew it.
So yeah,
But they eventually go out drinking kind of together, but he's there playing pool, John's there playing pool, and like Charles is there, but he kind of like walks away, he kind of goes off, and the rest of the dudes are all at the bar, and they're
Right.
like, hey John, that girl, she's looking at you, John, you should go
Look
talk
at
to her.
you.
Mhm.
So he like goes for his attempt, and I'll get one of you to explain how this attempt goes.
Right.
So sad.
Well, leading up to that attempt was a super funny because it was just like so cringy the way the scene is laid out. And I'm still not entirely sure if it was intentional or not, but like his whole group of friends, like each of them says this like one-liner
Right.
of encouragement. Like,
True. Yeah.
do you remember?
I know. I wish I could.
Yeah. Just all these cringy little things
Bro,
about like how
like
to
some
approach the
examples.
girl.
And then it's like, just picture a classic one-liner. They're like, ooh, yeah, like basically just all go for it. And John's like, may I remind you that with any unsuccessful attempt, my odds at success drastically increase on the next attempt, or something to that effect. And then he like goes for the girl.
Lines to this girl
sitting at the bar.
And she's been like, yeah, they were right. It's not like the classic guy situation where they're like, oh, our waitress is really into us and she's being nice. She actually was interested. But then he goes up and his line is something like, I don't know, I might blow it. It's something like, I don't really know how to do this, but I'm just wondering what I have to do to get you to sleep with me, or something like that. Will might know. He
says that.
Yeah.
I don't peg him for this type of person at all. What a sick individual.
Yeah. He's basically just like, that's what he says.
What this I think reveals is that he doesn't have the capacity to filter what he's thinking. And that's part of his appeal, is that 10 other guys would walk up thinking exactly what he said, but they would say something to try to, play some kind of game. And John just says exactly what's on his mind. And she slaps him in the face in front of everybody. Yeah.
And storms out. Because she likes the game where the guy pretends that's not what he wants. And she can at least be flattered for a bit.
Nice.
Which is understandable.
Sure, I guess. That's for her. Whatever.
This is now not chronological, but I think we've kind of jumped around in the timeline a little bit. You get to see there are more bar scenes. Like you get the sense.
This is the first one.
Yeah, this is the first.
This is the first one, but the next bar scene is kind of the big bar scene,
right?
Because they're all sitting around, and like a group of women come in, and there's one blonde woman, and they're all like, "Oh, the blonde," and he does another beautiful mind trick.
So cringy.
Where he like is talking in his mind about how if they all go for the blonde, then no one will get the blonde, or only one of them will get the blonde. No one will get the friends, because the friends will be upset that they all went for the blonde. But if no one goes for the blonde, we all get laid. Like it's kind of this mathematical thing he creates.
What?
And it's kind of his big idea.
Is this how the rest of this fucking movie goes? Did he write the book? What's that book? Like the bro code or the dating code or whatever? Is he just
what John Nash is famous for? Yeah.
Shut up. Yeah, the what's it called? What's that book?
He wrote the game. Yeah, he wrote the game.
Yeah, that's what it's called. He wrote the game.
Funnily enough, game theory is what his work was.
That's what it is.
So this is also another cringy scene, because he has, in this moment, they're using some special effects to show his like ultimate mind. And as they do it, he's like zeroing in on the blonde, and then everything else kind of fades, and she just like floats towards him at such a like high speed, just like lines towards in like a still frame. And
I'm so upset.
This is probably the most like literal presentation of like women as objects in this scene.
Yeah,
absolutely.
In any movie, it's like they literally just like separate here.
This,
we get that. You get this.
Yes.
Is this a meme at all? Are there any memes of this? Because I know there's the one about the lady in the math.
Pre-meme culture.
Yeah, but come on.
It could come
they use
back
old
as a
movies
meme.
sometimes.
Good, yeah.
So this is I think again, you see how John, as kind of awkward and unrelatable as his approach is, he kind of sees the situation, kind of figures out how it's all going to go. The way they're talking, he fast forwards the series of events, sees what everybody's intentions are to go for this blonde, sees what's going to happen when they do that, and then presents to his rival, Martin Hansen, and the rest of the group, his theory of if they all go pick one of the 6 other girls and pair off, that the blonde will become jealous, but that these other girls will be flattered because they all thought the blonde was the number one choice. And he presents his idea in a pretty compelling way. And then they're all like, they actually provide some pushback. They start talking about game theory a little bit. They start talking about the principles involved and why some other guy who wrote some kind of
the game,
the
other game.
Yeah, like basically the accepted theory at that point is like kind of the best man,
Right.
a person should always do what's best for that individual person.
Mhm.
Like that's who's always going to succeed.
Versus
versus
like,
his theory, which is
what's it
doing
called? Like,
What's in the best
His
interest
theory?
of the group? Sorry.
yeah.
Oh, his theory is it's the Nash equilibrium. And it's a law of like governing dynamics. That's why, like, that's what he's been trying to create, a new theory of governing dynamics.
Oh boy, does he not have any friends by the end of this movie? Is that what the empty glasses are for? Oh.
We will get to that. No worries.
So
Anyway,
yeah.
this is his Bing moment. He runs home
Bing.
runs back to his dorm room to start working.
So he doesn't even bother with the ladies at this point. He was just like, "Oop, got him," and then he runs home.
runs by
Sprints
the
even.
blonde. She's like,
Yeah, she's so insulted that no one picked her, especially him, apparently. So, yeah, just a great amount of female representation in this movie. There's one thing I can say. I felt understood as a woman.
Understood as a woman. They sure get me in the math.
so then he goes on now to start putting this grand idea to paper or to window or whatever he's doing with it.
Window
he writes
for
it
sure.
out, he formulates it, and I guess fill in if I'm missing something, but he puts all this down, and then we see that his idea now is earning him. Earlier he was being threatened that there's going to be no placement for him. He's not going to be able to continue in Princeton, and now his work is being recognized.
So I'm so sorry, but his theory is what exactly? Like how to pick up chicks?
I don't know.
I kind of like to interject.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I just want to say, so when TJ was pitching A Beautiful Mind to me before we watched it, he was talking as if it was going to be this incredibly intellectual film where game theory is just like explored and expounded on. I'm like, awesome, like sounds so interesting. That's what he talks like the whole movie's leading up to it. And then you get to this point in the movie and you're like, okay, like we don't even know. Like I still don't know. I honestly, until I reflected, I hadn't even realized game theory had already been created. I kept waiting for it. And then I was like, oh, I get it. The blonde thing.
But so his idea basically is this, if the simple thing being that in governing dynamics that previously it had been thought that whether it's governments, corporations, whatever, the best way is to act in your own interest. And he's presenting some alternative view that says if everyone behaves in a way that's in the best interest of the group, it will actually lead to a higher yield for everyone, even individually and then also corporately.
That makes sense.
And it's mostly applied in like economics.
Right.
This is
Maybe.
why it's so big.
So he writes all this down on his window. Then that guy who was earlier threatening him, the professor saying, oh, John, if you're not going to class, you're not doing anything, there's not going to be placement. Now it's like, John,
I'm
your
not
work is
sure
really
about
good.
this accent. I just have to say.
I'm completely convinced that this is exactly how the professor sounds.
He is the Charlie Brown teacher.
But you know what he's saying.
Yeah.
So that's
John,
exactly.
if you don't go to class, you won't get women.
Well,
Go on.
So then he's like, oh, John, you're doing great.
But when does that little pen scene? Isn't that now? Isn't he meeting with
Little Pen?
No, so
That was
that's
earlier?
an
Little
important thing.
Pen.
Yeah, kind of.
So
he-
sorry. One more time. Little Pen?
We're about to
Little
explain it
pen.
to Alenka.
There's a pen.
Hold on.
Yeah. So
Like a
when the
small-
professor is threatening John with
Yeah.
you're not
small
going to get a
pen?
place when you're not going to do well if you
Is he like, you
it's
gotta
not
go
a
to
small pen. No.
I shouldn't have said little. I take it back.
I'm so confused.
It's actually the multitude of pen scene.
It's a
Yeah,
normal
there's a lot
size
of
pen.
pens.
Okay.
Or is
Okay. So
Alenka's off the rails.
when John is getting lectured about not going to class by his professor, his professor brings him into this room and he's like, John, watch. And
Look at
there's
this pen.
an older gentleman sitting at a table. This is like the faculty lounge. and
Yes.
all the other professors get up and they pull out, and it's like a Princeton pen, I guess. It's like you get it if you're like a tenured, or if you get no, it's just a faculty pen.
Special pen.
But they all it's a special pen. They all lay their pens down in front of the faculty member. I'm assuming giving him the pen. I don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
Seemed like
It's
it.
like a sign of respect. Yeah.
And so that he gets, like, literally you just see people coming from all directions, like slowly coming, dropping their pen off in front of him, and then just like retreating. And you're like, what's going like, what's he going to do with all these pens?
Yeah, they don't explain what this is. I think we're just supposed to know Princeton politics, I guess. But
What?
they're just, it's a sign of respect from all the other faculty members.
Because they only have
because
so
this guy,
many special
But who's
pens
this
that
guy?
they've been given.
Yeah.
He's a really
Yeah.
prestigious member of the Princeton community.
He's just sitting there eating lunch.
He's sitting in the library.
and he's
or
like,
the
I
lounge.
would like to just sit here, and you guys
starts
keep
with one
bombarding me with
person.
pens. He's like, I can't go anywhere. He's like in the washroom trying to take a piss. People are just like, here's a pen.
Bart.
Here's a pen.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like every waking moment of his life, people are just coming at him with these pens.
It's actually a torture method they do.
horrific. Yeah, this is hazing at its finest.
No, in reality,
It's actually
it only
vape
takes
pens. The dude's like, too many vape pens. I'm gonna get too fucking stoned, man. That's what it is. That's the
Yes,
How old
that's
is this man? Like 90? I envision him to be so.
78.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's pretty exact.
solid 78 and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody gives him a pen. They all walk up. It starts with one guy. He's like, here's the pen. And then people follow suit and come up, and it's like this wave. It's like when you do the wave, it's like, oh, everyone sees what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yes, I
Yeah.
respect this guy too. Here's another pen. And then he gets
And
like
then the
30
professor
pens.
says, like, John, what do you see? And John immediately says, recognition, because that's what John wants, is recognition. But then the professor says, no, accomplishment.
Okay.
You know, someone
Mhm.
who's accomplished a lot, whereas John hasn't accomplished anything, but he's
Right.
wanting recognition
Mm.
for accomplishing nothing.
This is
So-
Same.
So that was something we're jumping back to, Alenka, that had happened previously when John was getting reprimanded. Now that same professor is telling him, you've done a great job. We're going from there.
You're going to get tenure. You're going to continue on
Right.
the path that you hoped to be on, essentially.
Yes.
But didn't he say, didn't you guys just say that he wanted recognition, but
No,
like
we told
hadn't
you
done
that
anything?
that was a jump back.
Yeah, you did though.
Now he's done something. He wrote a really
Oh.
groundbreaking idea on his window about
Okay, so
And then on
wait.
And on paper,
Oh, on paper. Okay, good. I was curious mostly about
Yeah.
that. No, but really, so this pen scene happened before he had the idea or after?
Yes,
Before.
the pen scene happens
I
before.
should have never brought it up.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
good.
not.
It's important. We're
Still
gonna
would
jump
like
back
to
to
know
it
the
later.
size of the pen.
They're normal pens. I'm like,
That is not, excuse me,
pen.
this is not a normal pen. You're like,
Oh, the screen.
it's a
no,
normal pen. It's like
It's a normal pen.
normal size. Like you
This is
right.
normal.
This is pen sized.
Okay.
We'll get
All
ready
right.
for
He
the
wrote a
wild
groundbreaking
ride.
theory. Yeah.
Because when he writes this groundbreaking theory, is told you're gonna keep going on a good trajectory. Now we fast forward, what, like
Mhm.
4 or 5 years?
Whoa.
Yeah, 5 years, I guess. Yeah. Basically, yeah, he's now at MIT
Mhm.
What's that?
in a position, and he's also brought along, because I guess when you get a placement, you can bring along people to help you or your classmates. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
think
I don't
that's
Like
factual.
assistants or something. So he brings on Bender and Saul.
Right.
Couple
I
buddies.
guess. We don't care
His
about those guys too
friends.
much.
No, not very much.
Picture buddies.
Just
Smart
yeah,
buddies.
the
Just picture
buddies that
some
were like,
buddies.
go try to flirt with that girl. Same buddies. Now they're adults.
Now, don't we,
Kind
when we
of.
jump forward in time, aren't we immediately in the Pentagon?
We are, yes.
So
Is that not where aliens come from?
that might be Area 51,
Are
but
we sure?
Pentagon maybe too.
Come from
Yeah.
though.
Pentagon, it's
Yeah.
like
They might be working in the Pentagon,
That's what I'm
lizard
saying.
people aliens. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
for
Yeah.
sure.
Lizard people? What is the Pentagon? Just for those at home that don't know, because we all know.
It's like a
I wanna
hub of
assume-
military operations, intelligence
shots,
operations. For
You
want to
know how I know what the Pentagon is? Austin Powers. No, Austin Powers. Because
Austin Powers worked
Dr.
for
Evil is like,
MI6.
oh wait, no. They go to the Pentagon when Dr. Evil is like, he wants a bribe for money for like $1 trillion billion, and then they laugh at him. They laugh, all their friends, but really, he just had a beautiful mind, and he knew that the numbers existed if he asked for it. So whatever, we're at the
Exactly.
Pentagon, and
It's a super.
how many
duper
hairless cats are there?
22.
Okay.
But they're not consequential to the next scene. They're just like in the background. So
Yeah.
it's super like cliche
Yes.
Pentagon military
Yeah.
scene. The
Super
music,
dramatic.
it's like,
Yes.
you got the classic like military intelligence music playing, guys marching through an intelligence building. Literally, as we're watching it,
Right.
I say to Haley, I'm like, Commander, because you can just picture that someone's gonna like say Commander, and then
and
someone's
then
like
a second
General.
later.
And so they're going through, there's some military operation happening, and John's there.
Yeah.
He's part of
What?
this
No,
for
he's
some reason
not.
5 years later. He's in the Pentagon
For
with
some reason, his beautiful mind.
Yeah.
It's been evident from moment one.
How many times does it say you have a beautiful mind in this movie? Once?
I think it says it
I don't
at
think-
least 5 times.
Maybe once. I don't
Yeah, that's probably more.
Okay, good.
yeah.
So
Yeah, they're the Pentagon is getting him to crack some Soviet codes because now we're kind of coming.
So they assume he speaks
coming
Russian.
close to the Cold War.
Oh,
Right.
I get it.
Start of the Cold
vodka.
War. Yeah. And so they crack some codes because he's super smart.
Yeah.
And he does it, and everyone's all like, "Yeah." You're
Honestly,
awesome, John.
I did not know this movie was going to go this way. I thought this was going to be a love story.
Well, just you wait.
yeah, we're not
I'm
even halfway
nervous.
done.
Does the
Yeah.
blonde come back?
There's a twist here.
This
He's
is
a
like
Russian
a real.
spy.
What would you
Eh?
call it, Nathan? TJ?
Actually, this might not be
Did
like
you-
the real turning point
Did
yet, but
you
the turning.
just-
Yeah, the movie starts to go on a different trajectory.
I do that all the time. The other way around.
That's the name of her husband.
It's normally
Anyways.
the only person I talk to in a day. It makes sense.
Okay. It makes sense.
Yes.
Go on.
So, okay, another thing I'd like to say, because I don't know another good time to say it, is that I think it's funny. I pointed this out, and TJ noticed the same thing. That in like the first half of the movie, it seems like they're constantly just playing ending music. Like every
True.
part of the soundtrack sounds like the movie is wrapping up. But then
Oh, really?
in the latter half of the movie, the music just kind of isn't doing that anymore, and you're like,
Yeah,
what's
super
I
climactic
guess it is.
music
Yeah.
through the first
Yeah.
half.
Yeah, and then it's just like it just
Why?
dies off. So
It just does the Lord of the Rings thing where you think it's going to end, but it's just not
Right.
for like an hour and a half.
yes.
But
for,
you
like,
know
the
it's
whole
not going to
second
end
half.
because you're 20 minutes into the movie.
Like it couldn't possibly.
So yeah, they're at
Yeah.
the Pentagon
Right.
and they're like, there's some super tough codes from Russia. No one can crack them. And then John's like staring at this wall of code and he's like, and then he knows the answer and everyone's
Stop.
amazed.
He can't.
Yeah.
No.
Don't ever say he can't.
And is this when
Okay,
the
sorry.
mysterious man with the top hat
Yes.
approaches
In the
him?
Pentagon, they just
So I
let
like-
anybody with a top hat enter the Pentagon.
I feel like that
Is
doesn't,
it Charles?
that doesn't
It's in the
happen
window.
till later,
It's
though.
in the window.
He's in the
remember?
window.
They have windows in the
Yeah, he's like watching
Pentagon.
him.
So
Have you ever seen
I'm telling this. The deal or no deal.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
Never.
What's
how about
that?
you, Will? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
What?
no, kind of.
Well, now we can't reference it. Anyway, for those who are listening, Deal or No Deal, the banker is this person who isn't really an enemy in the whole thing. He just like sits up there and intimidatingly like is on the phone giving you offers.
Okay.
Yes. And he looks exactly like that because he's just like backlit. You just see his shadow in this hat and you're like, oh, the banker is here, like just gazing down. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So there's this shadowy figure kind of watching on, and
with the top hat.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. Is that just like to make the silhouette more interesting, or
probably? And it's like not a top hat like that's silly, but it's a top hat that's like
because I am envisioning quite the silly
and like looks like what
I think there's probably a different name for it.
Probably.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm envisioning something very silly.
Aficionado.
Like a fedora or something, right?
No,
ooh, that's bad.
No?
It's not a fedora.
No, I guess not.
Anyway.
He's wearing
if anybody knows hats well,
360
tell us
brim.
in the comments.
So yeah, this guy with the 360 brim hat is watching from upstairs. You don't interact with him. John's now part of decoding military or Russian codes for the US military.
And then he leaves. And isn't that when he has his first interaction with this guy?
I think so. I think it happens at a later time, but we can say it now and then go to the other stuff. But
Haley, if you could stop fudging up the timeline.
I'm doing my best.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff going on, but like the man approaches him and tells him like basically offers him a job to like decode Russian
for Pentagon
secrets, but like in secret. He can't tell anyone. He's kind of like a secret agent now.
Right.
Russian spy.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he's not a Russian spy.
Well, he might be.
So yeah, like 1952, John, just to put it in, like to frame it for you, he's at the Pentagon. He's, showing his brilliance in front of all these military guys. He's approached by a top secret military guy in the streets at night. Like,
oof,
hey,
scary.
I see that you don't have attachments. You are brilliant. Yikes. The Russians are infiltrating everywhere. They're putting propaganda and magazines and in secret codes through television commercials and this and that. We need you to help us fight the war against the Soviets because, they are brilliant and you are brilliant. Mm-hmm. And John is like, he's flattered. He's excited. He's nervous. But this is, in a way, what he's always been waiting for, because that recognition piece is like, we need the smartest. And John's being asked as the smartest to fight the biggest challenge. At the same time, he's teaching at MIT now.
Yes. He's a professor. He's a funny professor.
He's the funny professor.
No, funny in a completely different way than you're going to imagine, because he just completely disrespects the idea of teaching altogether.
Oh, yeah. I had a high school teacher like that.
Right. He basically just goes into the classroom and he's like, this is going to be a waste of all of our time. So this is a crucial scene, though, because he goes into this classroom, he writes this formula down. Then he gets upset because there's a lot of noise. There's some construction going on outside. Oh. So he storms over to the window, shuts the window. But then it's getting hot in the classroom. And so this beautiful girl, one of his students, gets up and all confident and like goes over to the window and opens it and leans out the window and like yells over to the construction crew being like, hey, like it's really hot in here, but we want to learn. She's not ditzy. She's intelligent sounding, but she's like, it's hot in here. We want to have the window open, but it's too loud. And then the construction crew is just like, wow, this charming individual. Let's just stop doing construction now. So
that totally makes sense. Literally would not happen. Not only that, but like, that's their job. Like, that's like me going to that's like me going to like, I don't know, McDonald's or something and like getting my food order, but then they continue to work. And then I'm like, excuse me, I'm trying to sit and eat my meal and read this book. but I can't read this book because you're conducting your business. Can you just
Right.
shut the business down for like 3 hours so I can finish this book and then get back to work?
It's exactly.
No problem, ma'am.
Yeah,
The voice comes
no
back.
issue. I know, there's multiple characters with this voice.
Thank you. Like, no, different voice.
Okay, so
sorry.
the important part is as she's doing this, because she's so charming, basically for the sole reason that she had like some confidence and she's skinny and she's leaning out the window, John falls in love with her. So
Sure.
he's like staring at her and he's just like, this is the girl for him. This is her.
This scene is
Sure.
also like a bit of a, it's significant in the way that John had approached the problem in a certain way. And the student was
Yes.
complaining about being too hot, and he solved the problem the only way he could see. And then she went about solving the problem in a way that was actually consistent with his work, which was to like work for everybody's best interest. And so
But is it in
she goes-
everyone's best interest on account
'cause
of
then-
now the
because
construction workers are not
they
doing their
say
job?
they're going to go take a lunch. So they're like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll go have lunch. We'll
and then
get
the next
fed
class
up.
will be interrupted. Like,
Yeah,
Not
that's
a problem
fine.
for John and his students.
Yeah.
Now,
So she
So
wows
Alenka.
is it? Yeah.
Alenka, what happens next is very, very goodwill hunting. Is that
Okay.
he like writes a problem on the board, a problem
she
that
solves
he
it?
like purposely writes to not be solvable.
Wow. What's
And
this
then she
scene?
comes into class or comes into his like office and is
Yes.
like, I solved it. But she really didn't solve
So
it
she
because
wanted
he's like,
recognition.
unfortunately you didn't. Like I purposely made it unsolvable.
What an asshole.
right. But he
Why did he
calls
do
her
that?
answer something really nice. What's the word?
Elegant.
Elegant. Yes.
Elegant.
And
Yeah.
elegantly, I wish that when I got wrong answers on math problems, that my teacher wrote elegant, but wrong. That would have been really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of
You get an
you
E
idiot.
for elegant.
yeah,
Still not a good mark, but
It's something.
but it's a
it's
mark,
nice.
and you can be proud of that.
Right. So she goes in, she says that, and then what's the next? It somehow this scene progresses, and I can't remember what exactly.
I never
happened.
remember how this happens, but basically he takes her. I think it's an MIT like formal like with faculty. It's like
He can't do that.
it's a thing.
No, wait. She
He's
asked
a
him
teacher.
on a date. She says, "Can
Oh,
we?"
she asked him out.
Yeah, but I just don't
okay.
know how she escalates it to
No.
that. Just because she's so charming, she's like,
No.
"Can I?"
This
take
happens
you out?"
over a period of time. There's more
Does she ask
Yeah.
it just like that,
little
Haley? Like,
interactions
could
that
I?
continue, little office hours, meetings.
I don't remember that at all.
It's not, I don't think it's like a lot of time spent on it, but I got the impression at least that there's more development. It's not just in this scene, I don't
Right.
think.
Yeah, I see what you're.
Mhm.
I didn't get the impression that it was like, oh, the next day she runs to his room and she's like, "Let's go out." But it's still pretty big job.
They can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a crush on a professor before, but that's a different way to take
You
it.
don't go about. Nobody does that, right?
Well,
She
apparently
does.
They know
do.
the rules, don't they?
This is 1952. Remember, women are objects and they're confident. So
Okay. We've really gone backwards, have we?
Well,
I
literally,
feel like
we have
women are less
70 years.
confident.
Oh, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Nowadays. All right. Cool.
So she
cool.
asks him out, though, at some point.
yes.
Unacceptable.
And then, as Will was
Mhm.
saying, they go to this faculty dinner.
I feel like they can't do that. Why would they do that? Are they let me get this straight. Hold on. Ooh, I need to adjust on the bed. Are they allowed to do this though?
Well, they all look 50. Just
Yeah, I
kidding.
know.
She looks like
No.
she's 20 years old.
I know, but like a faculty dinner, like he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to bring my student to this faculty dinner," and everyone's going to be like, "That's acceptable."
Yeah, it's like 62, so there's no faculty ethics. There's no
Right.
Oh.
there's no sexual
Are they also
ethics
smoking
in the university
in
setting
this
anymore.
dinner?
Yes.
Inside?
I think I
knew
did
it.
see smoking.
Yeah. They
Okay,
smoke.
Good.
Good.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we're sticking on this a little too long now.
Yeah, okay.
So they go to the dinner and they have some. Is this where it really gets serious between the two of them? I think it is.
Yeah, basically, this is like their falling in love night
Right.
Yeah.
because they're outside looking at the stars.
Right. Oh, and he does that
he's
thing.
talking about how he can see any image in the stars because of math or something. And so he's like, yeah, basically, he's just like, any object, say any object, anything. And she goes, umbrella. And then he like points out a star pattern
Which
to be an
doesn't
umbrella.
work, by the way. Like, you can't just point to a star and then everyone else knows what star you're pointing to.
Oh, for sure.
Exactly.
But I
That's
bet
not
you she just
nice.
wanted to seem as smart as him, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I see it."
Well, she was wow.
We're
she was
matched.
swooning.
We haven't actually said her name yet. I believe her name's Alicia,
But she's an object.
Or-
Alicia.
Right.
Yeah.
Her name is
and
Her last
irrelevant.
name's
Haley.
Lard, which is unfortunate. but
Really,
It
Lard.
is.
yeah.
I love it.
Whoa, it's
Yeah.
upsetting.
Not to John.
So yeah, they fall in love. I don't know any other scenes other than they get married pretty quickly in
Right.
the timeline
What
of the
Yes.
movie, right? They
Is
kinda-
going on
yeah.
in this
Mhm.
movie? What about the
And John
Russians?
John is continuing his work. So
Yes.
on
And
the
she doesn't
side,
know.
He's falling in love with Alicia. He tells her that he does
No.
some work that I think at one point actually she comes into his office and he puts some stuff away, or there's stuff that
Yeah.
he's trying to conceal.
It's classified.
This is tension.
That's right. Top secret. He's working for this
Yeah.
top fedora guy.
Mhm.
And
The top fedora guy.
he's seeing codes, beautiful mind style. He looks at the magazine, letters are jumping out at him. He's like, oh, the Russians are communicating secret messages. And he's solving it all. He's a genius.
Yeah.
He's figuring it out. And at the same time, he's getting
Okay.
married. His friends don't know. His friends just know that he's up to this top secret work
Mhm.
and that he does stuff for top secret people, but it's all behind
Top
the curtain.
secret.
Oh,
Right.
hush.
Yeah.
And now there is
all
another
TP
important
top
scene where he's kind of on a visit. He's on a visit to Princeton, and he's sort of like on campus. He's sitting kind of on a tree, and this little girl approaches him.
Yes.
And I
I
forget what she
envisioned
says,
he
but
was
she's
sitting on
like-
a tree in a branch, but I guess he was just more so
Sorry,
on the bottom
against a
of
tree.
it.
He's,
I love
Just-
on a tree. It should have been that.
yeah.
I wish.
That's what I'm gonna
So this
picture
little
from now
girl
on.
comes up.
Yeah, and I forget what she says, but says something like, "I was told not to trust you" or something. I was told it's
What?
not that. It's some cheeky
not-
little line.
Yeah, it's something
Yeah.
about like she can't do something because he'll always win or he'll outsmart her or something. I don't remember. You?
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Something like that. And then,
And then
Okay.
she says, yeah, my uncle says
Yes.
blank. That's whatever she says. And then he's like, well, who's your uncle? And then in walks Charles Herman, his old roommate, best friend.
Oh my
Finally
gosh, but did the little
reunited.
girl have a Brit Aki and British accent?
I think she does have a
Wait,
Brit
yeah.
Aki.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Pretty
Okay,
deep
good.
Brit Aki. Yeah.
Okay.
Super smart. Goes to Princeton.
Yeah. She's like 4.
8 years
Yes.
old.
Yeah, cool.
So she's got a Brit Aki. She can't trust. But
Right.
then, in walks Charles Herman,
They have,
Charlie.
like, a
the
little
uncle.
bonding conversation. Is there anything really important that they say in that conversation?
I really envision this as like I don't know, a close up of like guy, beautiful mind, and he's just like looks up and he's like Charlie, and he stands up and they do like one of those like, you know, those like bro handshakes where they grab each other's shoulders and they do like
Yeah.
a good to see you, one of those.
Yeah,
How
I think they
accurate.
actually hugged. They're pretty close.
They are.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. They're super
smart
close.
people are close.
So, yeah, it's just kind of like a reuniting with his old friend
Mhm.
and his niece.
She's
who
like
he
running
becomes
around.
close to.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
as
Yep.
they do.
Yeah. So there's a scene after they get married where
That was it. Sorry, that's it.
He's-
That's all that we have to do with Charlie. They're just like, oh, we're here.
Yeah,
he's there.
it's
He's
just
being a
that.
friend.
That's
They're
it?
talking about. He's not telling him about the top secret
Sure.
stuff yet, and he's kind of just like Charles is there to like be his guide almost. You know, he's always showing up when he's a little
Right.
bit unnerved. I think so.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a scene
It's just
where
weird.
he's meeting up with Parcher. That's the fedora guy's name, Agent Parcher. And then he
No,
gets in
it's
like the
top
back
fedora.
of a car, and they get chased by Russians, and they're getting shot at by the Russians.
What? Excuse me?
Yeah,
This just escalated so quickly.
It really
it
does.
escalates. Yeah.
Does
And
she
that's kind of
die?
how it is in the movie. Like you just
I
go
think she
1 minute
dies.
he's hasn't done anything in his
Hanging out
life
with Charles.
of consequence. Next minute he's publishing a brilliant theory.
Right.
Next minute he's in the Pentagon. Next minute he's getting married and doing
Right.
top secret work. Next minute he's on the run with Parcher. Russians are after them because
What?
they know they're
Mhm.
enemies.
that they're
Right.
decoding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
decoding, getting shot at,
Mhm.
huge car chase, gunshots. I think
That's not
Parcher winds up shooting one of them or shooting a couple of them. Their car
yeah.
drives off a pier.
Oh,
Mhm.
They narrowly escape
So,
death.
so he's getting real
It's
paranoid
casual.
that Russians are basically after him all the time. So he like rushes in and is like
yeah.
telling Alicia like, we got to pack up, we got to get. At this point, they have a kid or no? They don't.
I
have
don't
their
think
kid
so.
Not yet.
No, they don't have their kid yet. But he's this point like, yeah. So he's like telling her like, oh, the Russians like, there's bad people are after us. We have to like be careful. Don't do this.
Mhm.
Don't do that. He's being very erratic and paranoid,
Mhm.
basically.
Yikes.
Right.
And then he ends up being a guest lecturer. This is now like, again, it skips time like a couple years,
Mm.
but he ends up being like a guest
What?
lecturer at Harvard. He's at Harvard, and
Right.
Charles and his niece show up after the lecture because Charles is like, well, I saw you were the guest lecturer here, so I thought I'd pop in and say hi again. And the niece is there. She looks about the same. And they all like have another kind of moment where they hang out.
Right.
But this is before the lecture, actually. So after the lecture, he's kind of walking out of the building and he's noticing some people following him.
Oh, exciting.
And and he thinks it's the Russians.
Yeah.
And he
Is it an actual
starts running away
surprise
from them.
birthday, though? That's what it is.
But in the
Yeah.
lecture
Huh?
too, I think he notices them in the crowd, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, he does.
sees
Yeah,
a
he
few
does
of them
notice
standing around,
them.
and he gets really nervous because he's like, "This is it for me. Like they've cornered me. They know where I'm at." So yeah.
Oh.
Then he starts fleeing.
Okay.
Mhm. And he
I'm just
gets
confused because
captured
it's
by them.
multiple years after. So it's like they're packing.
Well, it's not. It's like a
And
year. It's hard to tell like how far they like jump ahead at different times, but it's definitely like a little bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's always like, can't tell his wife about his work. No one really knows. But then, later
Mhm.
he's at this lecture,
Mhm.
sees guys in the crowd, starts shuffling, is like, oh man, he's aware of the fact that the Russians are about to be on him. So he tries to like sneak
Yeah.
out, get away. He's basically fleeing through campus and they catch up to him, grab him. I think a guy jabs him with a needle or
Mhm.
injects
What?
him. And
What?
he's like, I know who you are. And
Right.
and the guy's basically like, you're coming with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And I think then
he's
he
like,
passes
he's
out.
like, I know who you are, and the main guy is played by Christopher Plummer. He's like, yes, John, I'm a psychiatrist. That's what he says.
Did
and
he
then they capture
imagine
him.
this whole thing? He wasn't working for Russians? Wait, he was never
He's
working
never been
for
working
Russians.
for Russians.
I know. I'm
In
confused.
your mind,
But
you've been
there's a
calling him a Russian
psychiatrist.
spy from the start.
So
I never
there's a
had-
psychiatrist, and they say, so was it all in his mind? He wasn't even working for the Pentagon.
We don't know
He just
yet.
imagined it. I do know,
We don't know
actually.
this yet.
I know that he wanted recognition so badly that he fabricated this illusion. Go on. Tell me the rest.
Basically cut to a
We haven't
Like-
even gotten to the scene yet. I went to turn off on the light, and then Alenka's saying her theory, and I'm like, "What happened?"
she's formulating a theory.
All I know is that Russians have snagged him up. They injected him with a little who knows
Right.
what. And
Right.
one of them is just like, it's fine. I'm a psychiatrist.
Okay, I see. Yeah, so then we cut to this point, and it's like right in the middle of the movie. You can lead the way for
No.
this. Well,
For
okay, so
No.
no. Well, I don't remember the scene
Just
really well
no.
because all I remember is being shook to my core. You have to do this.
Shook to your
yeah.
core.
She was shook.
What happened? I can't
He's
get
in.
over that. Hailey was just like, okay, you take it. And TJ's just like, no,
It's too.
no.
I'll take it. I'm taking the ball. So they're in this psychiatry room. They're in this room.
Like his office, sort
in
of, yeah.
this guy's office, yeah. And John is really distressed because he knows he's been captured by the Russians.
And he's tied down. He's got like leather
Right.
ties to a chair,
Stuff.
basically.
Right.
Right.
And he's like not going to tell anything, not going to reveal anything. Supposed psychiatrist is pretty calm, kind of talking John through it. Like, oh, John, I don't remember what he says. The whole time, though, you're kind of wondering, like, who's right? What's going on? When do we see
Alicia?
Charles?
No,
What's happening?
So
What's going to happen?
So
I'm so nervous.
basically, he's like, "How did you find me? How'd you get me?" And then he sees like Charles in the corner of his eye, sitting like in the distance,
Russian spy.
and he thinks Charles, what is a Russian spy and sold him out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I forgot.
he's yelling
about
at
that.
him, and then Christopher Plummer, the psychiatrist, kind of looks over at him, but we don't really. And then he looks back,
Like he like mouths something to him, or he just like, hey buddy.
No,
he
he doesn't
follows
say
John's
anything.
gaze. John's looking
Yeah,
at
he
Charles.
follows his gaze.
And the
Oh.
psychiatrist is like, who are you looking at, John?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
No one.
basically, no one. That's right.
yeah. So this whole scene, John has fabricated not only Charles, his best friend,
I guess you're
but
right.
also Agent Parcher and this whole Soviet thing. Yes.
I knew it.
Amazing work.
genius.
Amazing work.
Good
You're
solve.
beautiful
You
mind,
guys
honestly.
had
Yeah.
stone faces, and I really, especially when Hailey came back from the lights, felt like a fool for even thinking about it. That's
You had
fine.
it.
You had
I
it.
know. So he made it all up.
Yes, in
Yes.
a way. So
He
then,
has basically schizophrenia. That's
Right.
kind of the diagnosis of the
Oh
time.
no.
the next scene that sticks out to me is the one where then the psychiatrist is walking with Alicia. Is that like the next?
Yeah.
Yes. And
I would say
Alicia
that, yeah.
is having a lot of trouble accepting this. And I'm still, when I'm watching it, like thrown like, no, what's happening? But
No.
But also, Alicia is the one who phoned the psychiatrist because of John's erratic
Yes.
behavior after he got shot at by Russians.
yes.
She was very concerned
Which
about that. So she's the
was
one who phoned
what?
the psychiatrist.
Oh, because he came home and was like,
It was-
the Russians.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's
Gotcha.
been erratic in general. Yeah.
hmm And then
Good.
this
Good.
psychiatrist is trying to explain to Alicia that John has schizophrenia and that Charles is made up. Charles's niece is made up. These Russian spies are made up. And she has a lot. She's like, no, Charles is like his best friend. I know, like, we invited him to our wedding. We did this and that. And then the psychiatrist is like, yeah, but have you ever seen him? And she tells him all the excuses that John had for why they never got to see him. Like, oh, well, he was busy, or he was here or there, had this or that, because it had made sense to her at the time. But then it hits her and she's like, oh no. And then that specific thing happens with the letters. Is that like the next important thing?
Yeah. So I think she's really having a hard time receiving it. And at the same time, it's all adding up.
Right.
So she kind of goes on a hunt, I think, to try to almost validate that maybe there's some truth to what John has been
She's
saying.
trying to prove it. So she goes to MIT to his friends who work with him and be like, you need to help me out. Like, we need to find what John was working on. And they're like, oh, like, we don't really know. But like, they open up his office, and his office is basically just covered in magazines and newspapers. Like, it looks crazy town, crazy pants USA. Basically.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Sure.
it's
And then-
covered. And then I guess
It's
who was a
raining.
Bender basically says that he did follow John one time after to make sure he was like okay when John's been delivering these envelopes of his work to Agent Parcher in this mailbox. That's kind of what he's been doing, and that's part of the secret. So she finds all the delivered work that's unopened. No one has been reading it to
At
kind
this
of prove to John
abandoned,
that this happened. Yeah.
right. That this like mansion
Where
is
is it?
completely abandoned, boarded up in this like old rusty mailbox. So
Yeah. That he's just been piling envelopes into.
right. Which you see at the time, like when you're in John's viewpoint before this all happens,
Right.
it's all normal and it looks really like fancy and like up to date. And he also had that thing in his arm where he was seeing, we completely forgot to mention, like the numbers, like he had an implant put in by, I don't even know who was supposed to have put that in.
Parcher and his goons.
Right. And like numbers were
goons.
glowing through his wrist, kind of like
What?
his microchip.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so she
This
finds
is
all
so
this
weird.
evidence that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that this whole Russian code conspiracy has been concocted in John's mind.
Yeah.
So she brings this back to the office to speak to John, to visit him. He's basically contained. He's not allowed out. He's undergoing treatment, which at this point we don't know the extent of. She comes back and has a meeting with John. She's completely broken. And she comes in and John's kind of, on the level seemingly. And she's hopeful that maybe he's had a breakthrough. And they sit down. And when John's confident it's just the two of them, he's like, listen, you've got to get a message to Parcher. He's like, you've got to let him know this and that. And this just breaks her. And she's like, John, none of it's been real. And he's like, no. And he's like, they've got to you too, this and that. And does she pull out the envelopes at this point? Does she have them with her?
Yeah.
And she shows him all these envelopes. And it's like this. He
realizes.
You don't know if he fully
none
realizes,
of his work has
but
been
like
looked at.
it's hitting him.
Like no one's been. Yeah.
Right.
Oh. Okay.
So there's now a series.
Yeah, he goes through like electroshock therapy, which is terrible. And then he ends up being on medication, and he's basically now living medicated and just kind of hating life, living with his wife and his medication.
But it does break through the combination of her evidence, the electroshock therapy, the other methods they're using. He realizes this has been delusional. So now they're living in this little house, hating life. He's essentially completely numb. They've got a child at this point, a baby together, but he's completely emotionally incapacitated. There's no connection. There's a couple scenes kind of showing their marriage, no intimate connection, nothing. He's just basically a shell of a human being.
Yeah.
And at one point,
did they have the baby before this? Like before he was emotionally detached, or like when did this all happen?
I
Did
don't
she
know.
do
It's
it
not
to
very
save
clear.
their marriage?
No, that's not presented.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Not really clear.
upsetting.
They've got a young child though that was kind of, let's assume before the therapy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Begs the question, like, I think it's this movie is a little over dramatic when it comes to how erratic he was and what his actual delusions were. I don't think it was this or even to this extent.
No. Yeah.
So I think they had a regular relationship with a lot of hardship through his mental illness, but it wasn't,
Okay.
this.
Right.
And so there's a scene where she's like kind of trying to come on to him.
Sad.
And he's not at all interested. And then they get into this like really frustrated, sad fight. And the medication comes up. And it's like, is it the medication's fault? And they kind of think that, yes, maybe the medication is to blame.
Right.
So a short while later, we see that John is pretending to take his meds,
but hiding them
in his drawer. Not starting
From
he's starting to
his
go
wife?
off his meds.
Yeah, like
From
she'll
his
give
wife.
she'll give him the meds, and he'll be like, "Oh, thanks," and then put them in the drawer. And
So their discussion wasn't like maybe you should try not being on the meds. It was just like they're spouting ideas of what it is, and then he's like, yeah, maybe it is the meds and I don't like feeling this way, so I'm going to stop taking them independently.
Seemed like maybe that was the case. To me, they don't really explain that.
Okay.
Yeah, like she's not like don't take them. She just asks is it the medication. And he just kind of shakes his head. Yes.
Right.
And then she goes and throws something at the bathroom mirror.
Mirror.
and
Obviously, it's the
cries.
medication.
It's pretty emotional scene.
Yeah,
Very
it's very
emotional.
emotional.
Very.
But yeah.
Yeah,
So he
Child.
stops taking his medication, but so after that happens, he starts seeing codes again. He starts
Mhm.
seeing Soviet codes in
Mhm.
his Time magazines,
Mm-hmm.
in his cereal
Mhm.
bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that doesn't happen, but that'd be kind of funny.
Aw.
alphabets.
His alphabets, yeah.
just-
So John's out for a walk one day in the wood behind their home, and he hears some stuff like beepity beep boop bop boop, and he's-
Skibbity bop. It sounded like scatting.
It's
it was
actually
Smurf
Scatman, yeah.
scatting in
It's
the
scat
woods.
man.
And so he's like,
Beep,
oh.
bop, 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 bop.
So he goes to investigate the source of this mysterious forest scat music. And as he goes, there's a little cabin. He runs into Parcher somewhere along the line.
No.
I think maybe Parcher meets up with him first, or
Right.
he discovers
Yeah, with a bunch of like U.S. soldiers.
That's
Right.
right.
And he's all
No.
Like
like
World War II
cornered.
soldiers almost.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yes. And he actually, the important thing to note kind of here is that he gets in a battle with Parcher. He's like, you're not real. I know
Right.
you're
Hmm.
not real. I'm schizophrenic, whatever. But Parcher is very adamant. He's like, they're trying to trick you. They're like, this is all just part of it. I'm real. You see me. I'm real. That sort of thing.
right.
It's
That's
the
upsetting.
Russians.
Mm.
Right.
And he's doing his best to convince John, winds up doing a good enough job
Right.
that he leads John back to this little cabin in the woods behind his
Okay.
place.
Right.
And in this little cabiny shed thing is a bunch of guys, whirring machines, full on code operation, deciphering
Okay.
codes.
Right.
And he's like,
Yeah.
we gotta
Okay.
get back to work, John. And he's like, but I got a wife and
Yeah.
kid. And he's like, I told you that connections were dangerous from the beginning. Let's get back to work.
Right.
And John gets back to work.
Huh.
Seems happier for a while. He does. There's a couple scenes where like he's helping out with the chores around the house. And there's one scene where it's like Alicia's notably happy. It's like John offers to either, change the baby or
Mm-hmm.
do some
Mhm.
stuff. And she's like, wow, John's
Mhm.
getting better. Really, it's just
Mhm.
the fact that he's back into his delusions.
Deluge.
Psychosis.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
full on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, changing the baby. Basically, he's
Oh, yeah.
like, oh, I can take. I forget the son's
This
name,
is the
but
worst. Yeah, I
uh,
feel like it's something
yeah,
weird.
No.
Bart.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous. Bart.
Bart. Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I can take. Oh, don't worry, I can take Bart up for his bath.
Right.
So
No.
he brings Bart up for a bath, and Alicia
No.
goes out to do the laundry.
Right.
But
so
she kind of
nervous.
notices the gate, their gate to like the woods behind their house is open, and she's
Huh.
curious. So she starts walking out there, and she happens upon the shed where John found all the
Mhm.
secret agents working on stuff. Opens it up, and it's covered
It's
in
the same as
magazines
before.
and newspapers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she knows, she runs back, and basically she runs up the stairs, and John got distracted, and the
No.
baby is sitting there almost covered in water, not quite drowning
Screaming.
yet.
So sad. Just
Super
like-
intense
Yeah.
scene because
And John says, "Don't worry, Charles is looking after him."
Mhm.
No.
And Charles is here; he's looking
No.
after him. Yeah,
Right.
so
Oh,
then
no.
it's a super intense scene because the time it takes her to run back, the water's getting higher and higher.
Yes.
The baby's crying more and more and
Mhm.
more.
Which I always wonder how they do that in movies. I don't know if anyone here knows, but do they really put the baby through the torture and they're just like, this is it, you're gonna enjoy it when you get paid millions?
probably they're probably because the shot is only about here,
Right.
right? Like, so the mother, presumably of the child, is probably holding the baby.
Right.
And then
Right.
I don't know, maybe fucking pinching its legs to cries. I don't know
Babies
what
cry
they
on
do to
their
make
own.
babies cry. They do.
Yeah.
So
TJ
super
happens
intense.
to have a baby, so he would know.
expert right
They
here.
cry a lot.
Baby creator.
Wait.
Oh.
Wait. I'm trying to remember. How old is this baby?
One.
So confident.
Yeah, very young.
Yeah, one is good.
So
one.
the mother,
TJ would
Alicia,
know.
scoops
He
up
has a
1-year-old
baby.
Bart, is like freaking out. John is an utter, like, he has no grasp on reality right now. He's confused. He's like, whoa. Oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, you just can't see Charles because he's got an invisibility cloak that they injected him with. And this and that. He's clearly
He
just
says
complete.
that?
He does.
Off his rocker.
He's off his rocker.
No way.
She's running. At this point, she's gathering up a few essentials. She's going to flee to go to her parents or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She runs downstairs. John runs down, and now Parcher is in the living room. She's in the living room, and Parcher's like, John, you cannot let her go. She knows too much.
Oh, no.
And
you
now
have to kill her.
You have to kill her.
No.
And she's standing in the corner.
No.
And she's like, John,
This is getting too intense.
Who are you talking to, John? And John's divided. He's looking at Parcher. Parcher's bringing up stuff. You got to kill her. This and that.
Right.
No.
And then Parcher goes to grab her.
Parcher goes to grab Alicia and the baby. John runs to take out Parcher, who's not obviously real. Hits her. She flies into the corner against a wall with the baby.
Right.
It's super intense because she thinks that John's now being violent towards her.
And isn't the niece weirdly there too? Like, which makes it.
Oh,
yeah. So Charles is also there. Charles is like, you better listen to him, John. And then Parcher like pulls out a gun and is going to shoot her in the back of the head.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what prompts him to like tackle Parcher and then tackle her.
Right.
She runs crying, like runs with the son out to the car. And then he's kind of standing there, like, kind of not believing that he
gets out.
Hurt his wife.
Or she gets out.
He runs out. She runs out. She's in the car. She's going to drive away.
Right.
John, she's panicking to get out.
Yeah. Well, Charles's niece kind of shows up in the living room and grabs his hand. And I forget what she says, but it's this moment he looks at her.
Right.
And then he runs out and he hops on the hood of the car. And obviously Alicia's terrified because this is kind of crazy town now.
Yeah.
But it then suddenly goes, she doesn't get older. And she's like, what? And he's like, what's her name? I actually forget the niece's name.
Oh, right. I don't remember either.
Yeah. Well, Charles's niece, he's like, she doesn't get older. Every time I see her, if she doesn't age, it means she's not real. So that's where he realized, that's how he can like, it clicks in his mind without the medication that these people aren't real because Charles's niece never ages. And that's what you notice too. In the two scenes before you find this out, you do notice that she hasn't really aged. And you're meant to believe this is a couple years later.
Right.
Okay.
So now we've seen the John kind of get to his peak. Then he starts to crash. Then he hits this bottom with, the violence and the relapse into psychosis. Now he has this realization. And then we have a meeting with Alicia, John, and the psychiatrist where John has this idea that, so there's kind of some transfer of information. The psychiatrist knows there's been a relapse, that the medication hasn't been used, and that's the source of the problem. But now John and Alicia are both putting forward that the medication has been another problem for John. And John is saying, I can beat this without medication because I solve problems with my mind.
I have a beautiful mind.
That's what I do. So I can do this. And the psychiatrist says, you can't do this because the problem is in your mind. So you want to use your mind to solve a problem that's in your mind. It's not going to work. Alicia's kind of sitting by like, I think he can do it. And John's like, I can do it.
Right.
I can do it. Nice.
So
good.
And
they endeavor to
and he
solve
does
the
it
problem with his beautiful mind.
Right.
Yeah, he
And how do they do
eventually kind
this,
of does
though?
it. Yeah.
He does it. Trying to think of where exactly it goes from there.
It's funny because they try to fit his whole life into such a relatively short movie. So they kind of jump.
It does.
From
It
there.
then it goes boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do they make
And
him
that's where
old
you're
with
like,
makeup?
Yes. That's where you're
Yes.
like, is their ending music going to start? But it doesn't because they used it all up in the first 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
what's the next major scene? Like, this is where I only remember the very end.
The next major scene
So stressed.
is basically he does see them still, but he now knows that they're
Mhm.
fake. So he's like basically trying to ignore these illusions.
Right.
The three people, Parcher, Charles, and his niece.
Right.
Yeah.
But the next major scene is he goes
Does it
back
go
to Princeton
into
to the
detail of
math-
like what they all
Oh, right.
represent for him?
No.
No.
Okay.
You can maybe make your own.
Cool,
You can
cool,
write a
cool.
thesis about it if you want, Alenka.
I will. I don't have much chalk in the house, but
Write
I'll
it
be
for
sure to
that
write it on
English
a window.
teacher that quit.
I will. Honestly, one time I was supposed to write an essay outline, and I knew that if I wrote enough words all over the page, literally in any form and fashion I wanted to, diagonally outside of the lines, in the margin of the page, around the hole punches, that I would do well. And in fact, I did get an A++ on that
Wow.
essay outline.
There you go.
Yeah. For
You're a
that
lot
teacher,
like John,
so.
honestly. That's
I know.
So yeah, he
I
goes
know.
back to Princeton.
Right.
He's been battling his, illusions in his own way, his delusions in his own way.
Mhm.
He goes back to Princeton
Yeah.
and he goes to the math faculty.
Right.
And now Martin Hansen, his old friend / rival, is the head of the faculty, right?
Yeah.
Now he's there.
Mhm,
He's the
yeah.
faculty head.
Mm-hmm.
And he approaches him
You've said that, yeah.
and he is like he's like, now that I'm approaching you, I don't think this is, probably a good idea, but do you think I could hang around here? Basically, is there any way I could be on campus in some capacity,
Mhm.
Okay.
to have community and to be connected with people? My wife and I think that if I had some connections with some real people from my past,
That
Yeah.
would help disconnect the delusions, which I think we've all been there.
Mhm.
Too much time alone
Sure.
with or without a specific mental illness can drive you up the wall. So,
Yeah.
especially with
Hashtag
Yeah, I haven't
COVID
seen Alenka in
2020.
person for a while, so I think that she's
Who knows?
actually not real. She's just a Zoom figment of my imagination.
I am actually a Russian spy.
A Czech spy.
I could
with
be.
all the Czech that she knows.
I know so
Yeah.
much.
So then he goes to his first ever class. That's
so the
something I
guy,
remember.
Martin, is like,
Right.
that conversation concludes.
Right.
John thinks it's going to be a failure. Martin is like, only one question. Do you need an office?
Oh,
And John's floored. And he's like,
Floored.
how about the library? You can start
Okay.
the library.
Right.
sure.
Yeah. There is a moment where I can't remember if it's Parcher or Charles is like in the doorway, like yelling at John, and John just like does a weird erratic movement,
Mhm.
and then
Sure.
he asks Martin. He goes like, "Can we just ignore what I just did?"
Yeah.
Aw.
And then Martin
Well,
goes
can
like, "For an old friend, sure."
What did he do exactly? Like, what was this movement?
Well, he has like an umbrella, and he just kind of like slams on the ground, like to kind of stop. I can't remember if it's Charles or Parcher talking. I think it's
Sure.
Charles
Yeah, I think it's
I think so.
Charles.
yelling at him. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then he starts studying. He goes to his first class. He's like, "This is actually my first class," and we're like, "Good job, finally going to class."
Finally, how much did you pay to be there?
But then shortly after attending his first class and kind of getting settled into his library digs, we have a scene where Martin's in his office and there's a commotion outside, and
Uh-oh.
John is like in a full-blown psychotic episode, like pacing around, yelling. He's in an argument with Parcher, Charles, the niece. He's losing it. Students are surrounding him, all pointing,
Yeah.
laughing, kind of egging it on. Somebody comes to Hansen.
Like a
and-
bunch of assholes. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, it's the
Jerks.
60s, maybe. We don't know what time it is.
Yeah, it could be the 70s by this point.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
Guy comes to Hansen's office, is like, "We've got a problem." And Hansen goes down and kind of gets right up to John and is like, hey, it's okay. Takes him away, diffuses the situation. And from there, they kind of work together to help.
Mhm.
It's not a breaking point for John. He helps him work through it
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
I wonder if
He becomes
perhaps
like his new best
maybe
friend,
these women that he was seeing in this bar and the friends that he was hanging out with earlier were also an illusion.
Deluge.
No, they're real.
Are you sure?
Undopey.
Yeah. They're
How do
real.
you know? You don't know.
Because Martin is real and Martin talks to the other guys and the women, I think. So
Fine. Fine.
Glad you conceded that.
Great.
So yeah,
Go on.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I think I'm trying to remember. I remember like the very end scenes, but I don't.
So yeah,
wanna
there's
skip
another
through
scene
anything.
a little while later now. John's in the library and a student comes up and is
Oh,
like,
right.
"Are you John Nash?" He's like, "Yes, I am." He's writing on more windows now at this point.
Yeah.
Window writing has become his fave thing again. And this kid has a theory he wants to bounce off him, so they get chatting. And now John's starting to mentor a new student. And now we have another scene.
exciting.
He's
There
mentoring
are a
more
few students around him.
Alicia
Hanson
sees.
brings Alicia in, and they have this nice
Heartwarming.
moment where John's sitting around a table with 4 or 5 students, and they're all glued to him, and they're swapping stories and
they're
smart
real.
math. They're mathing it up. They're
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
They're real people.
Super
Very
real,
good.
the realist.
the realist.
Alicia
Yeah.
can confirm.
And then we have a great
Mhm.
scene after this where Martin and John, they're again considerably older now, are walking through the grounds, and they get to the Othello table,
Right.
Oh,
and they recreate the scene from the
Yes.
beginning where
Yes.
Hanson challenges John and says, "What, are you scared?" And John goes, "Petrified, terrified, stupefied by you."
I need to see that because I swear to God, that's
He's
got to
doing
be
good
from
job
a
of
song.
recreating it.
He really is. You
Yeah.
feel like you know it because Will has embodied it completely.
Petrified.
There you go. Yeah.
Stupefied. By you.
And
Yeah.
so
I don't
they're
know.
sitting around reliving the old days, but John says, I think I'd like to teach. I think I'd like to do that. And Martin says, I'll talk to the rest of the board or whatever, maybe next spring. And then that's what happens. He starts teaching at Princeton.
Yes.
And
This
then-
is found,
Sorry,
You go.
and
that's
then the
right.
big thing.
We're going back to the scene again, touching on a scene from earlier, right?
Right.
So he's leaving his class,
Yes.
and a man approaches him.
Uh-huh.
And there's a funny little piece of dialogue because
Right.
the man approaches like, "Are you John Nash?" And then he doesn't respond to him because
He
he's been
turns to
talking to
that
this other
student,
student. Yeah.
Oh.
He turns to the student and goes, "Can you see him?" And she like
Yeah.
laughs and goes, "Yeah." And then he goes, "Okay, good." He's like, "I'm sorry, I'm wary of new people."
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Go on.
Meanwhile, the student is not real.
All his students are
Alenka
fake.
is really going for the conspiracy route late in the movie.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we've already done the turn. We're gonna do 5 more
There's
turns.
10 minutes left.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
you never know
Yeah, so this,
with this guy.
So the student confirms that this mysterious newcomer is real. Let's go for a
Great.
walk and talk, John. So they're talking. Essentially, this guy wants to tell John that he is up for a Nobel Prize. And John's like,
In
Whoa.
mathematics.
yeah, what for? Math.
How?
That thing you wrote on your window way back in 47. And he's like,
For real, though?
seriously?
Why did he become a
Seriously?
Yeah.
surfer?
Seriously?
That
Oh,
is-
man.
That's
Seriously?
gnarly.
Dude.
Wow.
Sick. I accept your Nobel Prize, dude.
It's-
I
he's
graciously
nominated.
accept, man.
Well, that's the thing. So yeah,
He hasn't-
they go back.
They sit down
They
for
go.
lunch.
They go to the faculty lounge. Yeah, and
What
he's
kind
like,
of lunch,
I thought
though?
that they only inform winners. They don't tell people if they're nominated.
Mhm.
And basically, he kind of deduces that this guy's there to make sure that John doesn't embarrass the Nobel Association because they know of his,
Issues.
condition.
Troubles.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, he
But-
deduces that.
Yeah. And then as they're sitting there eating lunch, we see something very familiar as someone comes slowly up from behind and sets a pen down on the table. A little pen. And
A
then
A small, tiny little pen.
Just a small
So
boy pen.
small,
yeah.
he doesn't even
Floodgates.
notice it at first.
right. But then as the pens accumulate, you begin to wonder what are
He starts
these
to notice
small
them.
things here.
John gets so many pens.
Yeah. At the end, he's just like, "Oh, too many pens." Yeah.
That's how the
Just
scene ends.
overflowing.
The movie ends on that note.
Yeah. He drowns in pen ink.
In pen ink.
Wow.
It sounds accurate.
So he gets all the pens.
Yeah.
They all respect
Yeah.
him with pens.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Then we flash forward. I think this is where I was
That's
really
it.
blown away by the makeup. Is this the
Good.
next scene?
I was half blown away, half disgusted. Not disgusted, but half like, what? So we
Why?
flash forward, probably not too long, like a year or two, whatever. Whenever when he's nominated, he's accepting the Nobel Prize,
How
the
old?
1994 Nobel Prize. He's probably 80 something. No, because
If he was a first year,
No.
he's like
47,
80 something.
Oh, he's got to be then 79.
It's just math.
69.
It's easy
Yeah.
math. Just figure it out. It's so easy.
He's
he's do it
he's
now.
late 70s for sure. I can't do it now because I am not a beautiful mind.
Because why? I can't do
What
some
year was
easy
the
math.
Nobel that he won?
94.
94.
94. Okay, so if he was a first
Yeah.
year in 47 plus 50 years is 97.
Oh,
So that means if he's
That's
a first
true.
year at 20,
Is-
that means he'd be 70 at 90. So then he's less than 70 years old, but,
But
he
they
looks like
make
he's
him-
90.
because they want
Yeah,
to
he
show
does.
Make him look.
Russell Crowe's diverse array.
his range, yeah, his age range.
But his wife,
Age range
Looks like she's 45.
she's the hottest
looks the same.
old lady you've ever
No,
seen.
but that's what I mean. His wife.
just
It's
gonna
like, did they
Google it
just
real
spend
quick.
all the makeup budget for Russell
Like
Crowe? 'Cause,
several
like,
hours on
Jennifer
Russell
Connelly
Crowe
looks
and like
weird.
20
Looks like an
minutes.
alien. Like she has no eyebrows in her old age makeup.
You're right. You're right.
Well,
Ways.
this is the last scene. We got to
Yes.
get through it. But basically, he accepts the award.
Uh-huh.
He has a great speech. I can't remember it.
He attributes it's pretty heartwarming. He attributes everything to Alicia.
To his wife.
You know, he says that basically you get the impression that none of his career accomplishments amounted to anything or would have amounted to anything. It's only the love that his wife steadfastly showed him
Mhm.
through their lives that amounted to anything that led to this moment that means
Right.
anything. He puts it all on her.
So this is the
She's
Nobel
crying.
Prize presentation.
The award.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes. So he says
Great.
math doesn't matter. Alicia
some
does.
nice things.
That's the summary.
Cool.
Yeah.
No. Then he says, and also tiny pens matter.
Yeah.
Right. That's the final.
He wouldn't
line.
have known his genius had it not been for small pens.
Small.
Small,
Small pens.
small pens. This episode better be
Is that
named
Sean
Small
Penn's
Pens,
younger brother?
or I
I don't know.
swear to God. Small, like
So-
SMOL.
The last,
but I said
last
small.
scene.
Just
Okay, go
calm
ahead.
down.
The
People
last
say it how they
scene
want.
is they're out in the lobby of this big theater where the presentation's happening. And his son's there, by the way. He's old man. Not an old man, but he's
He's
older.
old
He's
man. He's old man now.
like- yeah.
He's old man.
Bart is old man.
Yeah. Bart is
So
You know,
Older than
yeah,
his
40
dad,
now.
even. They just also
yeah, he's-
wanted to spend some time on
Yeah.
that. Really, that actor
And
got set up
so-
well because it was literally just that same 1-year-old baby in old man makeup. So they did age. They aged that baby quite
like
well.
Benjamin buttoned it. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys keep referencing
Oh.
Benjamin Button like I know. I thought that was about a teddy bear, but I guess it's not.
I did too when Justine first introduced me to it. But-
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to
It's
get
not.
to this last scene, which I have to say,
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
I felt about the second half of the movie. That's there just kept being so many last scenes, and I was like, okay.
Oh,
But I
you're
guess
like,
that's not
all
Yeah.
right.
I don't
Okay.
remember the last scene. What was it?
Well, the very last thing is they're waiting for the taxi or his son's going to get the car. And
dies. Heart
he's
attack.
like embracing his wife and he sees Parcher Charles and his niece
No.
kind of in the doorway somewhere. And it's kind of this last acknowledgement that he'll always see them, but he's just like, they're always going to be there, but he never acknowledges them. He's
Mhm.
kind of done with them now.
Mhm.
And this is kind of the point where he's like saying goodbye to them almost.
Right. Oh, because
Silent
don't they
Yeah.
have like,
watchers.
yeah, it's almost like they have an emotional goodbye. There was some part in the movie like that.
Oh, he does have an emotional goodbye to Charles because he talks about how Charles is like, you were my best friend, like you'll always be my best friend, but I've got to leave you now. Like I've got to leave you behind.
Yeah.
That we didn't talk about that scene,
No,
which is emotional too.
Emotional, but also kind of like, this is not accurate.
Yeah, throughout the latter Princeton days when he's a prof and all that stuff and mentoring kids, there's a progression of like the imaginary characters trying to get him to acknowledge them. And there's sort of this gradual detachment. They yell at him less and less. He acknowledges them less and less. And then eventually they're cut off.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of the end. And then they do the thing with the text at the end where it's like, and then John Forbes Nash Jr. did this and this, and he still walks to Princeton every day.
This is like based off a real life guy, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Loosely,
Real
in
person.
my opinion.
Loosely, yeah.
You don't think
This
that
movie
he
was
imagined
2001.
Russian Russell spies?
Crow
Russell
spies.
Yeah.
Russell Crowe has his own spies. They spy on other actors. And they're like,
He
no one can
could.
be as old as I am.
Every time that someone's getting their makeup done in Hollywood, he'll be there
Yeah.
just
Russell
to make
spy.
sure.
They-
Those
and-
wrinkles
I wanna
look
say-
too real. Smudge
Yeah.
them out.
This movie was 2001, and unfortunately, John Forbes Nash Jr. and his wife both died in a car accident and a taxi accident in 2015.
Oh, wow.
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 Yeah.
An
Way to
unexpected
ruin
It's
the
one.
unfortunate.
evening
That is sad.
Yeah.
with that
Mhm.
terrible news.
Also, plot
It is, yeah.
twist. Like, that seems pretty suspicious. Taxi accident.
Russian spies.
Yeah.
Mm.
It
Probably.
is.
These
It
are
was the
real
Russians
lives.
all along.
These are real lives. But could have been spies at the same time.
Real spies. Yeah.
Real spies, real lives. Spies have lives.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
So, good film overall,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
I
say.
enjoyed it.
A classic.
Well, I was not expecting that whatsoever.
Yeah, it was kind of a roller coaster, wasn't it?
Yeah.
TJ and I were saying how the first half of the movie just kind of feels like a feel good, like, oh, this guy's story. And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden you're thrown for a loop and you're like, oh no. And half of it you're just like lamenting his insanity.
Gets real dark. The first half is pretty like light and enjoyable.
Corny at
Corny.
times.
And then
Yeah.
there's like a
Very
cutoff
Ron
point,
Howard. Yeah.
And
Right.
it's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me sad, girl. But like, I guess it ends pretty good. So
It
you could
does.
say it is a feel-good movie.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Alenka,
Uh-huh.
how many,
Many socks off do I vote for this
small
movie?
pens? No, how many
Small.
small pens do you give this movie? How many are you going to dish
man.
out there on the faculty table?
I give 7 small pens, 8 small pens, and 2 of those big ass pens, and one 90-year-old Russell Crowe drowning in pen ink.
Someday I'm going to have to come up like a chart for your rating
No,
system.
and I'll tell you why the system is the way it is. Because the small pens is for the happiness that this brought me. The small pens is for the reality that this movie is like a little much. The big pens are for the impact that it has. And then the 90-year-old Russell Crowe drowning in pen ink is like, did that happen? Or did we want it to happen? And we just didn't know what to believe.
I'm blown away.
I
That was
know.
an amazing review.
It's called improv. Look it up.
I believe the
Experience
Wikipedia picture
improv.
is Alenka.
Drowning in pen ink.
Yeah.
I
Do you
would
want
be
to see this
so
film after this
pleased.
conversation?
I would like to see that like checker game, and also that I want to see the
We
checker
have
game. I
one.
really. You have a checker game?
We have Othello.
Okay.
That was the name of the game.
Guys, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for
Yes.
Thanks for
having
having
us.
us. It's been a lot of fun.
Is there any like social media you want to plug, or any projects?
Do you
or
want people to
anything
follow
you
you
wanna
at all?
plug to our listeners? Yeah. Do you want to be followed by our listeners?
We'd
If you
like to
want.
plug our imaginary YouTube channel that we've talked about creating for over 2 years.
Please make
One
it.
day it will be created. It'll be so funny.
It's going to be
It will
sweet.
be. It's gonna be sweet.
You'll just
TJ
Sound
and
off.
Hailey.
yeah, sound off in the comments, listeners. Just thumbs up if you want them to start a YouTube channel.
I've got something to plug.
All right.
Yes.
He's good.
Wilmot Key Quest.
Knew it.
It's had to be postponed this year because of COVID.
Right.
But Wilmot Key Quest, if you live in the Kitchener, Waterloo, Wilmot Township area, is a treasure hunt, 3 weeks long, kind of like something John Nash might have experienced in A Beautiful Mind, where you're getting clues, you're trying to figure out a 3-week mystery.
Way less traumatizing.
Less
Yeah.
traumatizing.
Thank you.
And if you can decipher the clues, you can find a hidden key and win $5,000. And this is a project
Ooh.
that
That's an obscene
Wilmot
amount of
Key
money.
Quest.
Well,
That's some
it's
good-
not,
Some good
but
stuff.
it would
right there.
definitely put a chunk into my debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we at Haven't Seen a Podcast won't give you $5,000, but
No.
if you follow us, we will give you some content. And you can do that.
That's it.
You can do that by following us on Instagram. That's at Haven't Seen a Podcast. And Facebook at Haven't Seen a Podcast. And Twitter at haven't_seen_it. You can also go to our website, www.haven'tseenapodcast.com. All our episodes are on there, as well as the giant list of movies Alenka hasn't seen.
Giant.
It's a lot, right? Yeah, it's almost
It's
almost
can
as many movies on
confirm.
the list
It's a
as
lot.
there's pens on John Nash's
The
desk.
table.
You know.
Nice. Brought it back.
Yeah,
I'm so
on the
proud of you, Will.
Yeah. And yeah, leave us a review if you want on like Apple iTunes or other places where reviews can be left. I only know of iTunes, really.
Me too.
So
yeah. Maybe Google review though. That'd be cool. Wish we could.
Oh, yeah, Google Podcast review. Do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could do that.
And if you can't do that, I encourage you all to go home tonight, get a piece of chalk, find a window of either a home or an automobile, and just start writing and or drawing shapes until you feel a little smarter. Because you guys, you all have beautiful minds in some way, and to that extent, I think we're all crazy. So good night and good morrow.